Um, Hello guys, this is Ken. Thanks for being here. I want to announce that I have a new animation channel where we will talk about interesting stuff and animate a lot of blood, death, and a bit of gore. As of right now, the channel is almost non-existent, so please help me to continue by following it. You can wait until the end of this video and click the link in the center, or go to the comment section and check the first comment there. You will also be able to find the link to this channel on the front page of my channel, and lastly, the description will now always have the link to the channel. Please help me continue this awesome and fun journey, and I would love to do this with you all.
On a quiet afternoon, the house feels heavier than usual, shadows stretching across the living room as sunlight filters through the curtains. Yoshizumi sits on the edge of a worn sofa, his hands restless, facing a group of men in black suits and sunglasses. Scars trace their cheeks, each mark a silent warning of danger. Though only a first-year high school student, Yuya senses the pressure of the moment pressing down on him. When one of the men asks where his father is, he swallows, admitting he has no idea, having just returned home himself. One of the men picks up a card from the table and shows it to him, and the words written there ignite a storm of anger in him. The card claims that Yuya's father has run away, leaving his own son behind, and as the curse of a bad father hangs in the air, Yuya recalls his father's motto, "There's no way to know what life will bring." His father had always been obsessed with creating the next big product, chasing trends yet constantly one step behind, piling debt upon debt. In simpler terms, he is sort of a gambler, and a gambler's offsprings are always bound to suffer from their birth. Even worse, his mother's love for his father never wavered. Her beauty and talent in the kitchen made people mistake Yuya and his mother for siblings, which secretly made him proud. He once asked her why she married such a man, and she had simply said she admired his relentless work ethic, even if he failed. Yuya understands how love can blind, and though he respects those who work tirelessly, his father has long since crossed the line of earning it. The man hits Yuya for not speaking up sooner. He asks Taka, the scarred man, about his father's debt. Taka's temper flares briefly before fading. He quietly reveals 30 million debt that now he owns, a crushing weight for a high school boy. Yuya learns his father keeps borrowing to cover past loans, leaving a growing cycle of debt. Despite Taka's imposing presence, Yuya feels no fear. He's known him since primary school, and beneath the rough exterior lies the warmth of an older brother. Yuya wonders how he could ever repay it. Even his savings are nothing. Taka shakes his head at his father's recklessness, and reminds Yuya of the cold message left when he came home to an empty house. He praises at Yuya's resilience and half-jokes that he played a big role in his growth, which Yuya quietly acknowledges. Taka asks what he plans to do, warning he can't cover for him this time. Yuya admits he may have to shoulder the debt, hoping to handle it with dignity, though fearing the end of his ordinary life. Taka grips his shoulders, promising to persuade their boss to take him under his wing. Relief washes over Yuya as the others nod, advising him to stay true to himself. Once the talk ends, Taka suggests moving on and showing Yuya the best they can offer. At that moment, the bell rings. Yuya opens the door and freezes. Hito Kita stands there, smiling, claiming she's come to help. Her long black hair, pearl-like eyes, and effortless charm make her seem unreal, a vision straight from a dream, captivating in a way that could charm anyone at ManhwaCapped Private High. Last year, she claimed the top prize at the National High School Girls Miss Contest, earning the reputation as the most beautiful high school girl in region. With her mature features, flawless proportions, and the occasional smile that seems almost divine, she mesmerizes everyone, both men and women alike. Yuya, among her many admirers, is stunned that she even knows where he lives, given they've never exchanged a word before. Seeing his dazed silence and flushed cheeks, she asks gently what's wrong. He stammers, unable to form a coherent answer, and she wonders if he might be coming down with a cold. He insists he's healthy, yet she steps closer, removing her shoes and lightly placing a hand on his forehead to check his temperature. His redness deepens, and she feels a faint warmth, teasing that he might be slightly feverish. She asks if a hospital visit would be better, but he shakes his head, insisting she might just be imagining it. Finally, he asks straight out why she has come to his house and what she means by offering to help. She explains that she wants to come inside, but Yuya hesitates, wary of Taka and his crew present in the living room. Though harmless to him, their intimidating appearance could easily frighten someone like her. He braces himself, trying to decline politely, but before he can, the very thing he fears begins to unfold. As Taka himself approaches the door, he asks Yuya if there's a guest, and gently tells him that she will need to leave for now because of his pressing schedule. Yuya feels a wave of panic. The timing couldn't be worse. He hadn't even wanted Taka to come, and now asking Ki to leave feels impossible. One of Taka's men suddenly recognizes her, eyes widening with surprise, commenting on how much cuter she is in person than online. Taka, curious, asks if the man knows her. The man confirms, she is Hitotsuba, reputed as the prettiest girl in Japan. Ki smirks at the recognition, then speaks directly to Taka, asking if he is Amachi Takashi, and adds that calling him the lieutenant of the Haratsu syndicate would be more appropriate. The words leave Taka momentarily shaken, fingers trembling slightly. Everyone in the room wonders how Kaede could possibly know about his syndicate ties, and even more, about his position. The thought of someone like her being connected to the darker side of the world leaves Taka in turmoil, struggling to maintain his composure, though his expression turns ominous. Yuya quickly urges him to calm down, reminding him of the time he frightened children at a festival despite his good intentions, and Taka nods, forcing himself to ease his face. Turning to Kaede, Taka demands in a firm voice how she knows him. Yuya notices she wears the same high school uniform as him, meaning she attends his school. He asks who she really is, and she only smiles. She introduces herself, adding that it's fine if he doesn't remember her. Taka's patience snaps, and he shouts at her for knowing things she shouldn't, warning her not to underestimate him. Kaede, unfazed, calls him a simple-minded baboon, mocks his necktie, and continues to tease him with a confident smile. Yuya watches in shock, aware of how rare it is for anyone to speak back to Taka this way. Taka laughs, voice turning sharp and threatening. He remarks that her tongue is far sharper than her beauty suggests, but since she's someone Yuya knows, he's letting her off lightly. Even though his eyes glimmer with unshed tears, Yuya can see the sting behind Taka's calm exterior. He's deeply affected by her insults. Regaining his seriousness, Taka warns Yuya not to take him lightly, and Yuya nods silently in understanding. Kaede, however, still hasn't answered his original question. Calmly, she gives her name, Hitotsuba Yuichiro, adding that it might sound familiar. Taka stiffens, sweating and visibly tense, as the name resonates with him, the chief of the National Police Agency's Investigations Bureau. The room falls heavy with unspoken tension, everyone realizing the gravity of who Kaede truly is. Yuya asks if that was her father, and she shakes her head, explaining that it isn't. Yuichiro is her uncle, though he dotes on her like a father would. Then, with a hint of steel behind her calm demeanor, she warns Taka that if she asks her uncle for a favor, he could even bend some rules to make her requests happen. Taka knows he has no leverage against her, and asks what she intends to do. She states simply that she wants them to leave Yuya alone. In return, she insists that the full amount of money his father borrowed, interest included, a staggering 36 million, be accounted for. Soon, another figure steps in, Hitotsuba Sakurako, Ka's mother and a lawyer. From the moment she arrives, her voice cuts sharp and commanding, addressing Taka by his position and warning him that he may have walked into dangerous territory. Though her expression is calm and gentle, her tone is razor-edged, leaving no room for defiance. Yuya can feel the pressure bearing down on Taka, yet he notices something odd. Taka speaks up, claiming he simply wants to reclaim what was lent, and that since Yuya's father died abroad without repayment, Yuya must eventually work for them. His words sound composed, but Yuya can see through the act. Taka is terrified, masking it behind bravado. Sakurako's voice cuts through the room, dismissing his logic entirely. She reminds him that his money-lending business is illegal, and that calculating interest is meaningless. Taka, still holding his bold front, scoffs, daring her, calling her just a lawyer, asking what she could possibly do to him. Yuya watches, aware of the pounding heart, and cold sweat betraying Taka's calm exterior. Then, in a surprising shift, Sakurako speaks softly, almost playfully, remarking dramatically that her father was the coolest man in all of Japan. Sakurako leans in, teasing Taka with a mischievous smile, saying this was exactly what his daughter told him every day, calling her cute as she recalls the details. She continues, describing how his daughter spoke of him putting his all into work for the sake of Mama and herself, leaving early and returning late, yet always giving her goodnight and goodbye kisses on the cheek while giving her mother a kiss on the lips. Taka is left speechless, stunned by how precise her words are, and more importantly, how she knows such intimate details. Sakurako presses further, mocking his daring behavior in front of a first grader, wondering what his daughter would think when she grows up. Though she claims concern, the underlying threat in her tone is unmistakable, and Taka realizes he is powerless against this mother-daughter duo. Yuya watches, shocked, as Taka bows his head in defeat, confirming that this pair is truly formidable. Sakurako then reminds Taka of his claim that he is just a typical salaryman. Taka protests, saying the matter has nothing to do with his wife or child, and she calmly confirms that's exactly her point. Yuya begins to understand that he is not responsible for his father's debt, and will not be forced to pay it, though he had feared that as their son, he might have had no choice. He also remembers how caring Taka has been, almost like an older brother. Sakurako warns that if Yuya doesn't settle the debt, it could still cause trouble for Taka or his boss. She produces papers to formalize an agreement. Taka reads them, shocked, questioning if she's really a lawyer. She smiles, admitting she's ordinary but backed by a wealthy employer. Hesitant at first, Taka agrees, promising never to touch Yuya. Yuya can hardly believe it. His father's massive debt is fully paid. Sakurako calls his father foolish, and Taka affirms the settlement, relieved that Yuya can now live honestly. Yuya struggles to process the incredible turn of events. Kaede steps closer, holding his hands, smiling warmly, and Yuya flushes, overwhelmed by her closeness. She reassures him he can relax and that she'll explain everything, though he notices her trembling slightly. Sakurako suggests escorting them out and offers Taka tea, which he declines, instructing his team to leave and declaring their relationship over, though Yuya knows he could visit via his wife. Once alone, Kaede confides that his parents' debt is cleared but with a condition: Yuya must live with her. She delivers it with a bright smile, leaving him stunned and worried about school and her fans. Encouraging him to the living room, her flushed, shy smile captivates him as she explains simply and bluntly that he has now become her property, leaving him shocked and unsure how to respond. Kaede tells Yuya that it's as simple as that, though he remains unconvinced, feeling it hardly counts as an explanation. She insists on keeping it short, thinking a long story would be pointless, but Yuya presses for details, wanting to know exactly when he became her property and asking not to be treated like a bought pet. She smiles, blushes, and calmly clarifies that from now on, he will indeed be her pet. Her tone and faint chuckles show she has no real intention of elaborating, lost in her own playful fantasies, yet she remains impossibly pretty, almost to an illegal degree. She lightly scolds him not to drink tea so noisily and apologizes for enjoying teasing him too much. Finally, she explains why he became her property. It's because of his father, who came begging in tears to her mother. Their families have known each other for years, having gone through elementary, middle, and high school together, inseparable as friends. She had heard rumors of his father being useless, and after graduation, they had lost contact entirely, until a month ago, when he suddenly reached out to ask for help. At first, her mother wanted to refuse. No matter how close the families had been, his father had only caused trouble for himself. Sakurako adds that Yuya's mother, who had always supported his father, shared some of the blame. Yuya struggles to understand his father's actions and feels certain that once he returned from overseas, he would do everything in his power until he was satisfied. Yuya listens as Ko explains that his father had cried, pleading with Sakurako to at least save his son. He feels a pang of emotion hearing that. Kaede continues, saying his father insisted Yuya had done nothing wrong and, unlike himself, held great potential, He didn't want Yuya's future ruined. All of this came out in tears. Yuya understands the gravity of the situation but wonders why Sakurako would agree to help. After all, to her mother, Yuya is just another boy, so a simple request might mean nothing. Kaede notices his hesitation and explains that her mother decided to help because Sakurako had selfishly asked her. Yuya's heart flutters at hearing that, making him nervous. He struggles to see how selfishness ties into helping his father, since the debt wasn't hers. Kaede laughs slightly, noting she had always been an honest, obedient girl who rarely acted for herself, so when she made her first selfish request, her parents and grandparents were overjoyed and even celebrated. Yuya is momentarily dazed by her candidness but decides to ignore it, thinking her family must have a curious sense of joy. She then reveals she actually made two selfish requests. The first, to help Yuya because he had done nothing wrong. She admits she doesn't care much about his parents, but she couldn't ignore the suffering he endured because of their mistakes. Yuya, though deeply grateful for her concern, can't fully understand why she would care so much about him, feeling both astonished and a little bewildered by the attention. Kaede moves on to reveal her second, most selfish request yet, that Yuya become her property and that she wanted to live with him. The sudden confession hits him like a bombshell, leaving him more confused than ever. He protests, saying it goes far beyond selfishness. Telling her parents directly that she wants to live with him feels like a bold proposal. Kaede, a little nervous but determined, manages to show him her intent with a cute, earnest expression. Yuya feels it's unfair how charmingly she delivers such a weighty declaration. Her presence seems almost divine, and he knows any man would falter hearing it from her. As she continues, her father prepares the check while her mother contacts his father to finalize paperwork. Opening the documents, Yuya is shocked to discover a written pledge. His parents have approved him living with Kaede and even agreed to his adoption into her household after he turns 18 and graduates high school. Moreover, the papers stipulate that following the start of their cohabitation, Mr. and Mrs. Yoshizumi are permanently barred from contacting him. His face pales as reality sinks in. He will not only live with Kaede but also, after graduation, marry her and become part of her family. The approval from his parents, already signed and official, leaves him dumbfounded, imagining how his mother might even be pleased by the arrangement. Kaede reassures him not to worry, explaining she intends to provide for him, though she knows his kind heart would make him feel guilty. She adds that, after his adoption into the Hitotsuba family, he will work alongside her father and eventually take over as president of the Hitotsuba group, a plan already agreed upon in advance. He struggles to grasp the sheer absurdity of the situation. His own parents had always been difficult enough, but the Kaede family operates on a whole other level. They had never even met him before, yet they were ready to entrust their only daughter to him and name him as their next president. The thought alone feels surreal, almost impossible to comprehend. She confirms it again, reminding him that his parents had already given their consent, leaving him no room to refuse. She warns him that any attempt to resist would come with consequences, and he already has a vague idea of what that could mean, perhaps being forced to serve as an employee under the Hitotsuba group, or worse, disappearing into some underground world where sunlight never reaches, living a shadowed life until his death. Her words are sharp but measured, and he notices the unusual red tint in her face as she continues, explaining that if he truly refused, he might end up as her personal butler for life. In that scenario, even simple affection, kisses, intimate touches, would be forbidden, and she would devise a form of torment where he could see her vulnerable side but never act on it. He can't help but envision the strange, forbidden allure of such a relationship, and a part of his mind drifts into a reckless daydream. Kaede catches his gaze and quickly shuts it down, insisting such forbidden relationships will never happen. Yet, despite her firm words, he senses the effort she's putting into restraining herself, the flush in her cheeks betraying her own unease. The thought of a forbidden love with her sparks a dangerous curiosity in him, but her declaration makes it clear, no matter how wild his imagination runs, it will never be allowed. Flustered by everything that had just happened, Kaede takes a deep breath and explains that all she truly wants is a pure love, one that surpasses all others. She asks if he wouldn't want to confess his feelings proudly. Yuya is stunned by her cuteness. At school, Kaede is the unapproachable beauty, like a rare flower atop a high peak, admired but distant. Seeing her like this, innocent, playful, almost vulnerable, feels completely different, as if he is glimpsing her true self. The thought that he might be one of the few to know the real she makes his heart race. He nods, telling her he understands everything, and decides to accept the proposal. It's not just a matter of obligation. The idea of living with her, experiencing life alongside a transcendent beauty, feels like a blessing, almost like a godsend. Sitting down to drink tea, a nervous excitement courses through him. Marrying her is a dream in itself, and beyond that, the president's seat of the company awaits him, a tangible reward for agreeing. He tries to mask the loneliness he feels, but Kaede notices it immediately. Her eyes search his face, and she can't help but ask if he is hurting anywhere. Yuya, still trying to process everything, shakes his head and says he's fine, not fully grasping the depth of her concern. Kaede notices the tears streaming down Yuya's face and asks gently why he is crying. He can't understand it himself. How could he feel such overwhelming emotion after finally being freed from his useless parents? Yet the tears won't stop, and his chest feels as if it might burst at any moment. Confused, he tries to make sense of why he's crying. She steps closer and wraps him in a comforting hug, telling him it's okay to feel this way. She reassures him that she is there now and promises to always stay by his side. Yuya leans into her warmth, releasing all the pent-up sorrow he had carried, crying freely on her shoulder. She lets him, whispering that it's alright to feel lonely, acknowledging the stark reality of his abandonment, while offering hope for a brighter future. When his sobs finally subside, she encourages him to be happy from now on. Once he calms, she reminds him that he should start packing, as the house will soon be demolished. The news shocks him, but she explains that after clearing the plot, it will be rebuilt and rented out, providing a source of income for both of them. She goes on to tell him that their own home has already been prepared in advance, a love nest, for the two of them, and that with the weekend approaching, they will have no school and can spend the days shopping together. As Yuya wipes away the last of his tears, a fleeting unease passes through him. He wonders if he carries his hopeless father's traits in his blood, realizing that he just made a life-changing decision on a spur of the moment, a choice that will shape the rest of his life. Kaede begins explaining the legacy of Hitotsuba Electrical Appliances, a company approaching its 100th anniversary and renowned across Japan. Their influence stretches far beyond household appliances. They've ventured into renovation services, electric vehicles, infrastructure development, and more, expanding continuously on a global scale. It's a distinguished, leading firm, unmatched in its prestige. Her father, the fourth-generation leader, often reminds everyone that no challenge is insurmountable with effort. Kaede tells Yuya that, in time, he will follow in her father's footsteps. The weight of it hits him like a death sentence. The thought of a high school freshman being expected to work diligently to eventually lead a company of such magnitude, with tens of thousands of employees, feels surreal. Kaede reassures him that he'll understand more once he enters university, preferably a public one, though she's careful to prevent him from choosing a private school. When he protests that going to university might keep him from working by her father's side, she cuts sharply, asking if he intends to waste time at part-time jobs or social circles instead of learning under her father. Her words feel like a sting, yet he senses the care behind them, and he realizes she already holds certain delusions about him. Kaede steps closer, holding his necktie, and tells him to focus solely on her. She acknowledges his diligence and promises that, no matter how unique his desires might be, she will meet his expectations, on the condition that he never seeks such things with anyone else. Yuya feels his knees weaken at having such an overwhelming beauty so close, her wink sealing the unspoken pact, and he finds himself agreeing completely. Yuya asks Kaede why she wants to help him, pointing out that they barely know each other. She agrees, they have hardly spoken at school, but explains that she's been watching him for a long time. He's astonished. She goes on to recall the summer days when she first noticed him practicing soccer after school, long after the sun had set and everyone else had gone home. Day after day, she watched him kick the ball with unwavering focus, an expression of determination he rarely showed outside practice. In those moments, she saw someone different, a person who truly gave his all when pursuing something. Before she knew it, she had fallen for him. From that day on, she quietly rooted for him, praying that his hard work would be rewarded. Yet her prayers went unanswered. Yuya remembers the sting of dreaming about nationals, only for his team to be eliminated in the third round of the district tournament. His relentless practice had not paid off. But what impressed her most was that even after defeat, he didn't lose hope. The very next day, he was back on the field, kicking the ball alone, refusing to rest or give up. She admired that steadfast spirit, the quiet perseverance that defined him. Kaede confesses that she loves how he never gives in to despair and possesses such a strong heart, proving just how remarkable he is in her eyes. Yuya feels a pang of guilt, wanting to tell her he isn't really that splendid, but she cuts him off, insisting that she has already fallen for the way he puts his heart into everything he does. Determined to claim his attention before anyone else notices his charm, she gently reaches out toward his face. Yuya, meanwhile, is overjoyed and utterly bewildered. Kaede, crowned the cutest high school girl in Japan, has been watching him from afar and fallen in love with a boy who kicks a ball like a fool every day. He knows nothing about her, and if asked whether he likes her, he wouldn't have a clear answer. Sitting her down, he tells her he understands her feelings and is genuinely happy to receive a confession from someone so beautiful. Yet he admits that he doesn't know her well enough to respond to her emotions properly. Kaede smiles and assures him that it's fine, she had expected as much. She understands that he cannot fall for her without knowing her beyond her outward appearance. Her acceptance lifts her own spirits and increases her favorability in his eyes. Yuya reflects that while appearances matter, truly knowing a person is essential for genuine affection. For him, a relationship requires enjoying time together, recognizing and accepting each other's inner selves, and mutual understanding. Relationships built solely on looks collapse quickly, and he doesn't want that. Kaede giggles, admitting that her methods, though forceful, have successfully removed the obstacles between them. Kaede knows he can't fully grasp how easily someone could declare love and kiss another on a whim, and she lets herself drift into her fantasies, imagining it vividly. Yuya's mental image of her as a precious, untouchable beauty becomes a little tarnished, yet he feels glad to finally begin understanding her more. He points out that the Kaede at home feels so different from the composed, unapproachable Kaede at school. She taps his face playfully and remarks that everyone wears a mask, himself included. Whether conscious or not, the Yuya at home and the Yuya on the soccer field seem like different people. She asks him which version of her is the real self. Yuya thinks for a moment, and admits that both sides have their own charm. He can't conclude which is her true self, as he barely knows her yet, but from what she has revealed, they can gradually understand each other. The composed, dignified Kaede is reliable and cool, while the playful, blushing Kaede, laughing at her own delusions and making silly faces, is irresistibly cute. Excited, she admits she wants to learn more about him too, his favorite foods, the kind of girl he likes, his quirks, and the situations he enjoys. She leans in to whisper something in his ear, but he stops her, pressing a hand gently to her lips, insisting they take things slowly and get to know each other first. She pouts, flushed and slightly averting her gaze, which only makes him more unsettled by her unpredictability. Everything about her keeps him guessing, leaving him half exasperated, half enchanted. He tells her enough joking around for now, they need to start packing. She suggests bringing only the minimum, and when he asks where they are moving, she casually replies that it's obvious, they will be going to their love nest. He freezes, realizing that from today, they will truly be living under the same roof. By 9 in the evening, they're riding in an imported luxury car, headed somewhere unknown to Yuya. Kaede sits beside him, her face now completely transformed, dignified and radiant in a way that makes him admire her silently, too embarrassed to admit it. He asks where they are going, and she reminds him with a playful tone that it's their love nest, the best room carefully chosen by her father. Doubting it, he asks again, and she makes an innocent, teasing expression that leaves him more confused than ever. He sighs quietly as they drive through the Bay Area, surrounded by high-end condos that feel like first-class hotels, far beyond the reach of ordinary high school students. Kaede notices his attention to detail and praises him for being informed, pointing out that such awareness will serve him well, especially when working under her father. He feels shy at her compliment, turning his face away as she blushes and calls him cute. The conversation flows naturally, and before he knows it, they've arrived at their destination. He stares at the building in shock, struggling to believe he will live here with Kaede. She wraps her arms around him and insists they go up to their new home, leaving him nervously trying not to faint from the closeness. In the elevator, he starts to carry his own things, but the driver insists he leave it to him, leaving Yuya alone with Kaede. She leans her shoulder against his, clearly enjoying the moment, while he fidgets nervously. When the elevator doors open, he steps into their apartment, and is stunned by the spaciousness, luxury furniture, and pristine cleanliness. She smiles, asking if he likes it, and he can only ask if they will really live here. She confirms it with a smile, promising to cook whatever he wants and suggesting they take turns or follow a roster system so either of them ends up overburdened. He looks around again, taking in the ridiculously large living and dining areas, the calming design of the furniture, and the oversized sofa that could easily swallow 2 people. The reality of their life together finally starts to sink in, leaving him equal parts nervous and amazed. Their room boasts a huge TV, but what truly captures Yuya's attention is the view outside the large windows, the elegant, glittering nightscape of the bay making the space feel even more spectacular. His mind wanders dangerously, imagining holding her shoulders, giving a gentle squeeze, and leaning in for a passionate kiss, before taking it further, but he stops himself just in time, heart racing. Pressing a hand to his face to hide his blush, he tries to calm himself. Kaede notices and asks why he's red. He reassures her, insisting they need to get to know each other first and that nothing intimate will happen until then. She teases him lightly, calling him strange, and mentions she likes that he's a gentleman, which only makes him more flustered. He fears her expectations and worries he might never live up to them, secretly hoping she won't raise her opinion of him too much, or he'll lose sleep over it. She claps her hands, announcing it's time for dinner, and the doorbell rings. Kaede checks the door camera and confirms it's their manservant. She opens the door to receive their luggage along with the pizza they'll eat, smiling brightly as she asks if they should eat before it gets cold. Yuya notices the driver carrying the boxes and thanks him silently. Kaede thanks Mamoto, her loyal driver, and invites him to join if he hasn't eaten. He politely declines, explaining his work is done and he wouldn't want to disturb them, bowing with perfect posture and a disciplined demeanor. Yuya is struck by his presence, a mostly gray-haired man who calls himself an old soldier but moves with elegance, his voice calm yet spirited, radiating the dignity of a true gentleman. Kaede explains he's been a family driver since her grandfather's time, a trusted figure who sets clear boundaries, and Yuya quietly admires the dedication. Once Mamoto leaves, they dig into the pizza before it cools. Yuya notices the thoughtfully paired cokes and watches in surprise as Kaede devours the food with pure delight, enjoying simple junk food with the same glee she shows in everything. She laughs, saying it's another thing he now knows about her, reminding him that one can't judge a book by its cover. The public image of Kaede as a poised beauty is just that, an image. Beneath it, she's a normal high school girl who hopes they'll get along well. Handing him a cola, she grins, and as he opens it, it spills all over his face. She laughs at her successful prank, and he feels a little foolish but learns another side of her. Despite her innocent looks, Kaede is a mischievous prankster. After finishing dinner, Yuya feels pleasantly full and decides it's time for a bath. He asks Kaede if it's alright, and she assures him that gas, electricity, and water are all ready, so he's free to use anything. Before heading to the bathroom, he takes a moment to explore the house. Every room is impressive, but the bedroom catches his eye the most, a king-size bed with 2 pillows and a comforter, like something out of a storybook for newlyweds. He smiles to himself, thinking of sleep later and decides to save the bed for then. The bathroom is surprisingly large, echoing the rest of the house, and the bathtub is big enough for two to stretch comfortably. The thought alone makes him flush. Even imagining bathing with Kaede feels overwhelming, stirring feelings he shouldn't indulge in. He can almost feel his reasoning slipping under the weight of such fantasies, realizing that living with a goddess-like high school girl like Kaede would make restraint nearly impossible. Kaede utterly appears behind him, catching him off guard. She tells him she wouldn't mind if some mistakes happened between them, standing with her arms crossed, legs trembling ever so slightly, and a straight face that betrays her nervousness. Yuya quickly insists he can't force such things, believing intimacy should only come from love. She admits she hasn't said anything yet but would be happy if he feels the same, reminding him she won't take back her words. Each comment makes his heart skip, drawing him closer to her despite his efforts to resist, wanting more time to understand her. She asks if he'll bathe alone. He points out that taking a bath together is meaningless if she's clearly nervous. Surprised that he notices, she averts her eyes and tries to deny it, suggesting his eyes must be shaking. He laughs at her playful denial and heads to prepare the bath, asking her to stay outside and watch TV, warning her not to peek. She, however, misinterprets it as an invitation to peek, teasing him and pressing him to be honest about his intentions. Normally, a boy would be the one trying to peek, but here the roles are reversed, leaving him flustered. Still, he tells her he understands and will peek only when he has the chance, insisting she leave for now. He gathers his change of clothes and notices the house lacks some appliances and daily necessities: washing machines, refrigerators, even some dishes. Kaede appears to remind him they'll go shopping the next day, buying dishes first, then larger appliances. Although she could have done it herself, she wants them to decide together. Yuya realizes that while shopping together is normal for adult couples, it feels unusual for high schoolers. When he questions how they'll handle costs, she explains her father wants them to choose and buy what they need for themselves, and she asks if he's okay with that. Yuya knows there's little choice but to agree, realizing she has already decided how things will go. Yuya actually feels a little excited at the thought of picking out appliances himself, so he agrees to go shopping with Kaede. She brightens instantly, saying it would be fun to choose things together. Since they'll be living under the same roof from now on, she wants to make choices they can both agree on. Her smile and eagerness for tomorrow make him smile in return, appreciating how simple and good-natured she is. Everything still feels surreal. In a single day, his father's debts forced him into near danger with Taka's underlings, and yet Kaede saved him. Now, regardless of his own intentions, they've moved into a new condo and tomorrow they'll go out together to buy daily necessities. When the bath is ready, Kaede appears behind him, suggesting they get in and offering to wash his back. He flicks her lightly, scolding her for trying to trick him so casually, admitting that even if she's fine with it, it's still embarrassing. He asks her to stay put while he goes in alone. Yet, the moment he steps into the warm tub, she follows and tries the door, only to find it locked. She keeps asking if he wants her to join, leaving him frozen, unsure how long he can endure her presence, or whether he's already grown too comfortable around her. Slowly soaking in the water, his mind drifts into deep thoughts, and he begins to wonder how to handle the bedroom situation, the king-size bed looming in his imagination as he contemplates what to do next. After some time, Kaede asks why he insists on sleeping alone, and Yuya averts his eyes, unsure how to respond. He remembers earlier, when she was in the bath and teasingly called out for him while keeping her door unlocked, but he ignored her, thinking about the bedroom problem the whole time. It's complicated, like politics, and he can't find an easy way out. He insists he isn't a delinquent who would act on impulse, so he plans to sleep on the sofa. Kaede scowls, calling him delinquent enough already, insisting he sleep with her instead. She argues it's ridiculous to separate in a bed so fluffy and comfortable for two and claims she would cry if they slept apart now that they live together. Sitting at opposite ends of the bed, they debate, and Yuya can't help but notice how beautiful she looks just out of the bath, her flushed face making him uneasy. He knows that getting closer could spark impulses he isn't ready for, and as a man and woman not yet in a relationship, sleeping together seems improper. Still, Kaede reads his thoughts instantly, asking if he fears acting on them while asleep, which surprises him that she can say it so cheerfully. When he slips from the bed, she asks if he's okay, and he tells her to stay back, fearing he might lose control if she comes closer. Her citrusy scent mixes with shampoo and soap, and he realizes that if he gave in, he would hold her immediately. She smirks, teasing that it's fine for him to hug and sniff her like a puppy, even offering to pat him, which flusters him further. Despite the embarrassment, he resists, and she sees his struggle. She admits she planned to cuddle him, but will give up for now, on the condition he sleeps in the same bed to avoid catching a cold, teasing that she could even become a nurse if he fell asleep. Her playful fantasies continue, and when she suggests he take off his clothes so she can wipe his sweat, he flicks her and scolds her for imagining such things. Laughing, she punishes him by insisting he sleep with her anyway. Seeing her get mad, he finally yields, agreeing to sleep in the same bed but with distance. She warns she's a restless sleeper and hugger, and he threatens to throw her back if needed, which intrigues her. She smiles and tells him she likes that about him, while he looks away, bashful as always at her casual words. She clarifies she only says that to him outside her family, and asks him not to take it lightly. Understanding, he lies down on his side, and she goes to dry her hair first, wishing him good night. His attempts to fall asleep are desperate, made worse by the faint sound of her hair dryer, which finally stops. When she returns to bed, careful not to make a sound, her breathing calms him, and listening to it, he finally relaxes and drifts off, realizing how long it has been since he last slept this peacefully. While sleeping, Yuya dreams he's standing still as his parents appear before him, telling him goodbye and to take care of himself. He reaches out, wanting to go with them, but suddenly wakes, hands still raised, breathing heavily. Realizing it was only a dream, he rises from the bed. Kaede sleeps peacefully beside him, so he quietly moves to the living room, still shaken and heavy-hearted. No matter how good his life has become, the painful memory of his parents abandoning him lingers. Yet Kaede came into his life, saving him and giving him a home he knows won't vanish like they did. Memories of both joy and sorrow with his parents surface, and he sinks to his knees, overwhelmed by why they left without him. Missing them deeply, he cries, unable to stop. Wiping his tears, he hears Kaede calling his name as if standing behind him, but when he looks, no one is there. Unsure if he's imagining it, he recalls her constant kindness and the way she always smiles around him, and that thought soothes him. Returning carefully to the bedroom, he notices something unusual. Kaede sleeps smiling on the side he had occupied earlier, though she had been on the opposite side before. Assuming she tossed in her sleep, he sets aside the thought, lying down where she had been. Pressing his face into her pillow, her fresh scent and lingering warmth comfort him, and he silently wishes he could hold onto it forever. Closing his eyes, he focuses on her presence and finally drifts into a peaceful, uninterrupted sleep through the night.